Hi, welcome to the regular Board of Trustees meeting, Tuesday, October 29th, 2024 at 7 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I do not have an invocation. Sorry. Roll call, please.
Trustees Keller.
Here.
McGurran. Here. Nelson.
Here.
Olson. Absent. Porter.
Here.
Pike.
Here.
President Wecken. Absent.
I make a motion to approve Brian Pike as the speaker for the regular board trustee meeting Tuesday, October 29th.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of Pike taking over the morning, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Good luck, Brian.
Thanks. Item 2 on the agenda is review and approve the minutes from the regular board meeting of October 1, 2024.
I move to approve the board minutes from October 1st, 2024.
I will second.
Any corrections, additions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Item 3, comments from the floor, and we have crickets. Item 4, new business from the board or staff. Item A is president's comments. I just saw Stan today. He is in the hospital and recovering. He expects to be there for a few more days and just ask for your prayers. And that's all he said to say. Item B, administrator clerk comments.
Yes, I'd like to second that. Thoughts are with Stan on his quick healing. No surprise, the biggest announcement to probably talk about is elections, and they are here. Before we get into some numbers, I want to just take a minute to thank the staff on the general government side. Susanna has been coming in to work on her days off. She's been asking for help with daycare on her days off so she can be in. She's been working nights and evenings to make sure that she could be here. So very, very, very grateful. Would not be able to be where we're at without her extra help. Nathan as well has been holding down the office because we've been in the boardroom pretty much nonstop, and so he's been taking all the calls and responding to as many emails as he can, folding ballots for us, stamping envelopes, anything and everything that's needed. So I just really want to thank you guys for all your help. I know that the community's been very grateful. They've been fantastic about sharing their gratitude, so thank you. So numbers then, we are at 1,119 absentee ballots at this point.
How many?
1,119. We have registered 30 new voters in the last 6 days, and all of those registrations have to be done in person on paper by Susanna and I. We are now up to 2,695 registered voters in the village, which means we have already processed 41% of all voters. And we still have 3 days left.
Wow.
So I will just mention, we've had a lot of people confused. Unfortunately, living this close to a state that does things differently has created some confusion. We don't early vote in Wisconsin. We in-person absentee vote, and so that process is different. So Minnesota is early voting. When you come here, you do not put your ballot into the tabulator. That gets done on election day along with all of the other votes. And so we have election workers who are trained on how to do those absentee ballots, and they will be very busy on Tuesday, election day.
Yeah.
So again, we have tomorrow from 8 to 4:30, Thursday from 8 to 5, and Friday from 8 to 11:30, and then we're opening back up for last minute shoppers from 3 to 5 on Friday, November 1st. That is a state requirement, so.
And no voting on Monday
No
before.
voting on Monday before the election. So Friday at 5 will be the last chance to vote before November 5th, which again will be open from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. on Tuesday the 5th, right here at Village Hall. I also want to call out and make note of the new ramp that has been put in. The ramp itself is nice. The railing that was built by our own Public Works Department. And they did that in order to save a lot of taxpayer dollars. And I don't know that we could have gotten one better. It looks amazing. So if you haven't checked it out yet, check that out. But we do have the new accessible ramp out this door. And they're also working to help create a pseudo parking lot across the street so we don't have as much traffic on the street. So we have used the millings from our 5th Street project, and they have been moving the millings over to the lot across the street from us, and they will be putting in some lines to at least help get some more parking around the village for next Tuesday. So thank you to Matt and his team for their work there. Comprehensive plan. This is a big one. We haven't had a whole lot of feedback so far, but we do want to remind everybody that we do have a vision a vision session on November 18th, right here at the Village Hall from 5:30 to 7. It is an open house forum, so you don't have to come for the entire time. There will be a brief presentation at 5:30. So we really encourage people to show up to the vision sessions and to help guide how the village looks over the next 20 years. The survey is another opportunity for people to participate in shaping that. And again, we're looking to have the survey completed by December 1st. We have a link online that you can access, and we can repost it again out at the St. Croix County website. They've got the link to the Village of North Hudson. Or I have paper copies here. If people would like to grab a paper copy, you can bring it back to the office, and I'm happy to scan it in so that we can get your voices heard. We'd also like to encourage all of our board members and committee members to help spread the word. It's really important that we get the public in participating in this comprehensive plan. It'll really provide us with some great insight on, again, how to shape the village. The last thing I'll just note is that we did get our audit back from 2023. We just got it back here last week, so it should be in all of the mailboxes, and we'll go into a little overview of that during our next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item number 5, River Valley Deer Management approval requested. Need a motion.
I move to approve the application of Lou Faya, Harvey Baird, Bradley Coulter, Brian Newth, and Lonnie for participation in the Village of North Hudson Deer Management Program during the 2024 to 2025 hunting season.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? As you can see, the chief weighed in. This is something we do, how many years now has it been?
Yeah, we've had it, we voted on it every time, so it's at least 10.
Yeah, at least 10. Every year I've been here, they've been doing it. That's 10 for Kirk and me.
Have we ever hit amount of numbers that they pulled out from this?
On average, I think it's been 119 per year is what they've reported in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, just trying to control the deer population, yeah.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? If not, all in favor of the motion as read, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passed. Item number 6.
We have to,
Oh,
you have to approve the contract.
oh, the contract, all right.
It's sub D there.
All right. Need a motion on the contract.
Can I move to approve the River Valley Deer Management LLC contract?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the contract?
Is this the same contract as we usually have, Paul?
Yeah, I looked over it.
Okay. Thank you.
Everything the same, pretty much? Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed. That takes us to item 6. Review of operator's license, quote, server, appeal letter, discussion, and possible approval. So as you can see, we have, can I name this person?
Yep.
Anna Maria Branham has sent us a letter to request an appeal of the denial of her liquor license, and you can read her letter there. Is this something I should read?
And I'll just clarify, the letter does say liquor license, it is a server license. The liquor license is to the, so what happens when they apply, and Chief, you can correct me if I go astray, when the servers apply, they fill out an application and we do a background check, and we do have a policy in place today that says that if there is an OUI on their records within a certain amount of time, the chief's recommendation is a denial. The administrator does have the right to overrule that. In my case, I didn't feel like that was the right cause. I'd rather have you guys as the board to decide whether or not you would want to offer the operator's license to this person. So then they have the opportunity, they get a denial letter from our office, and then they have the opportunity to request an appeal to the board of that denial. So that is what this letter is about, is her appeal as to the denial of her operator's license.
So when did we deny the license, and when did she apply for the license, and when were these violations on the record?
She applied in September, and of course, I will have to get that for you, Mary. I don't know if I have it offhand.
Do you know how long ago these OWIs were?
The OWI, so she did have I thought they were in here, a year and a half. Is that correct,
I
Chief?
can go get my memo, so I didn't
Okay.
bring it with me, but that sounds right. I know it was, so less than 3 years, which is standard, but I'll grab it so that I can speak to it.
So, in the past, this is actually how we've handled these denials. We bring them to the board, and often we'll ask the chief, what was the denial? You already covered that. It was because there was an OWI. Was her application complete? Okay. I heard of
That was-
one in the village that wasn't quite complete and had to.
That is true, too. That is not this one.
Yeah, that is.
that is not this one.
Not this one. Okay. So.
And this is standard protocol. There's
It is,
this,
it's-
and I think it's it might be, I'll have that chief speak for it, but we have two that automatically denial. They come up to us, they kind of state their case, and then from there, each one of them, we decide if we're going to individually approve it or not. Just, knowing the person and knowing that what's going on or what happens, chief will fill more in on that.
In the past, we usually have that person in front of us asking us to do this as well.
Okay. So Suzanne is mentioning that the process for the bartender, the server's license is going through a little bit of a shift. At the beginning of 2025, the state is going to start issuing server's license, and as Suzanne is mentioning, they may have their own rules too. They might not have this clause about the time with an OUI. I guess, I don't know if you've got any insight, but we haven't seen what the state rules are going to look like.
They're still making them, but it's gonna take a burden off the local municipalities, because you can get it, like right now, I think the letter says she has a license in the town of Hudson and maybe one other place, so you have to go to each municipality and get an individual license, and once this kicks in, you just apply to the state and it's good everywhere.
Well, will the local municipality have any
Thanks, Chief.
say over that?
If they seek just an individual to that municipality, is our understanding, is that they can go and say, I just want to serve in North Hudson, and then North Hudson is responsible. But if, to Paul's point, if they want to serve in multiple municipalities, then they seek a state license.
Because the state knows best.
Oh, easy,
Yeah,
easy on that, sir.
That kind of makes me a little nervous, but I understand that it would save some paperwork and money. If you have a state license, you're not paying for license in each municipality. Chief?
No, I was just going to say that I handed out to everybody the memorandum that I provided to Gina, which has more details on the dates on when things occurred, and then it also references that resolution 2005-05, which I use as my guidance from a board in the past, which basically said typically anything within 3 years is looked at, or if there is a pattern of behavior that we can also consider that. So the recommendation or the denial recommendation came from OWI from July 27th of 2000, or a conviction from July 27th, 2023. I believe in her letter, if I remember correctly, she had previously had a beverage service license that was awarded prior to the OWI conviction, and so therefore now she's coming for renewal, and this showed up. Excuse me.
So, I think I might even know who this person is, and she is still serving out at the Emporium. When you do this background check, do you look for pattern?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And this is it?
In this particular case, that's correct.
Okay. All right, discussion. Any thoughts?
It was a one-time thing. I mean, like Chief said, he looked through it. We have an automatic denial, so we can keep an eye on it if it becomes more of a habit, but a one-time mistake for me is not enough to stop someone. There's other people that work around the building too, so I would feel more than comfortable to approve this, and if something else happens, then the next time it comes to us, we'll look at it.
But how are we going to monitor that? Like, she's not going to keep reapplying, so she could have, or anybody could have OWIs after the approval, and it wouldn't be known until the next application. So there's really no way for us to monitor
How
it.
often do they have to apply?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years, every other year?
Yep.
Okay.
So in 2 years from now, if something else came up, that would be,
So this is technically her first time that she was serving when this happened.
In North Hudson.
In-
'Cause
yeah,
in North
well, we-
Hudson, in
yeah.
North Hudson, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how you would do more of a in-depth of putting that on Chief with all of his plate though, but every 2 years you have to reapply.
But this is our own policy. This is our own policy.
Our own resolution is for chief to not,
Deny it.
yeah, to deny it.
Yeah.
And
So
then
what-
it'd be discussion for board.
So I guess I don't understand, why do we have the policy if if somebody appeals, then we overturn it? We either should get rid of the policy, or we shouldn't overturn it, one or
I
the
think the
other.
idea was not to have it an absolute no. It was to take it out of the hands of the chief and the administrator, the clerk, and bring it to the board in those special cases. It wasn't saying you have to say no just because this one incident. They wanted a different level of review at the time.
So why would we have a policy that says you can't have an OWI and get a server license? Why would we have that policy?
And I guess to your point, just kind of, and at the time I was not the chief. It was right prior to me being promoted. And I remember talking with the chief at the time about the fact that, okay, so it's not a policy, it's a resolution giving direction to the chief, because if it said, if there's nothing there and they had an OWI 10 years ago, do we then now require or request that they not get their license today? So he was trying to get that narrowed down a little bit. It has a couple other little caveats in it, but it was really for the chief. Now, I can be honest with you, since I've been chief, I think I've probably recommended denial for 4 or 5. Several of them have appealed and the board has allowed it. But I think that in due process, they have to have an appeal if they get denied, and that's to come to the board and argue that they should get it. And so, to your point, it's not a policy, it's not a black and white. That's why it allows the appeal and the person to come forward and say, I made a huge mistake. I didn't read her entire letter, but I made a huge mistake. It's never going to happen again. To your point, though, if she does get it now, there isn't a renewal for 2 years. I don't do weekly checks on all of our beverage servers to see if they've been being good people or making mistakes, those types of things. But if something happens in the village where we find that they're maybe keeping open after hours, or they have some other violation of their liquor license, their beverage server's license, the board can suspend, or the administrator can suspend or revoke that privilege. And so that is an option that we have as well. But I think another conviction in those next 2 years, I don't know that that's enough to suspend. It would probably have to come back to the board for their consideration. So I understand your point on why are we doing the same thing twice, but I think in most legal, and Paul can probably speak to this much better than I can, there has to be a recourse if there's a denial for some particular purpose, that they have an appeal to the body that makes that final decision.
So do we have concern or not have concern if people that have OWIs are serving? Is that like a risk to the community, do we think?
Well, it's always a risk for anyone to be serving alcohol that can change people's moods and everything like that. But one OWI making one mistake to me is a very small risk, but there's always a risk, and someone to make a bad decision, there's no way I'm going to stop them from kind of moving forward, and we've never done that. And to me, this is just an example. This is just a way of, every one of these to me is individual. They're not all the same. You want to see trite, you want to see compassion, you want to see, so this is our way of making sure we're checking when someone makes a decision, but we're not just blank stating that they can't do it. We're monitoring it and trying to see if they're actually have learned from what they're doing, seeing if the other places have a trend of too many people that have certain things like this. But I'm not going to hold a very silly, bad mistake on someone to ruin them kind of moving forward.
So Chief, your recommendation to deny the license is based solely on the past policy statement?
That resolution that said within 3 years if there is an OWI. So yes, that alone. Obviously, if this would have been an OWI where there was injury, or an OWI there was a child in the vehicle, it would be a different level of crime, and that would have been referenced. So this is, I mean, I don't recall if it was even involved in a crash or if it was just a traffic stop that resulted in OWI. But if there were other circumstances, they would be listed.
And you're put in a really weird, not unique, bad spot where it's always denied this way.
I don't know if it's a bad spot. It helps,
Sure,
helps me with my job quite a bit,
sure.
where I can say,
Yeah.
here's 3 years, and here now it's on you. You get elected and get paid the big bucks for that, as we'll hear
And
later.
you would, if it was more than this, you would come out and tell us if there was more than that.
Yeah, I'm not going to hide anything in it. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. The search goes through and you've looked through it, so something like this has been checked through you.
Correct.
I will say we have recently, in the office, given a second denial for a very similar reason, and that person did not come forward and seek an appeal. So we do have situations where they choose not to appeal. So in this case, she did take the extra step to appeal.
Another thing too is what we're just hearing is they're gonna be changing everything in 2025. So if we're denying her, what if it comes back where it changes to we shouldn't have done it type situation?
It's government, we don't know, they'll finish it in 2020.
Well, that's
It's
true,
irrel-
but
it's-
I'm just saying, like, what if,
But Chief, if they did pass this new rule, would you expect that they would switch it? I mean, if they approve for the next 2 years and the state comes out with a new rule, and maybe this is more for you, would we be flip-flopping right away to the new rule, or?
No, it's up to the individual how they're gonna apply.
Oh, okay. So they could still apply municipal to municipal and,
That's the way I understand it, yeah. Otherwise, they can seek the state one.
okay.
And I haven't heard yet what the state standard is going to be on where they're going to set their limits of whether they're going to deny or accept. So
And one of their questions may be, have you ever been denied?
And
We could be impacting her for a long time.
and just so I understand, okay, this, it's operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated. It has nothing to do with what she did on her job at any particular time. She got a drunk driving ticket.
right, it's not a job performance review by any
Okay.
means. No, I think the reason that it oftentimes is closely matched with that is you're making a decision related to alcohol and then driving, and now you're making a decision relating to alcohol and serving someone else who potentially could drive. So they're
Okay,
kind of
that's where, okay,
intertwined.
because I wasn't really seeing a connection, because we don't do that to everybody in every other profession, but.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Okay, so we would need a motion to,
Either grant the appeal and issue the license or deny the appeal.
right, to grant or deny.
Brian, I move to grant the appeal for Anna, I don't know how to say the last name, Brumman? Liquor license to be served in North Hudson.
Anna Branham.
What?
Anna Branham.
Perfect, thank you.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Her appeal is good. That takes me to item 7, recommendation to designate recording secretary as a formal employment position, discussion and possible approval. Gina.
Do you
Explain.
need to, so you just read the agenda, and you need to.
I move to
someone-
approve the HR consulting firm. I move to approve his motion.
I'll second.
All right, so this came about, we recently received word that our recording secretary that helps with many of our meetings is no longer going to be helping moving forward. And so we reached out to our HR consultants. Actually, prior to that, we had a feeling it was coming. And his recommendation was that the role of recording secretary should really be an employee and not a contractor. For various reasons, he felt like that was a better match. And so when we received word that she would not be continuing on with that position, we thought that this was a good time to make that transition from consultant or contractor to an employee. It would still be a part-time position. There would not be any additional impact to the budget. There would not be benefits provided, any of that. And so cost would be about the same. We wouldn't pay per meeting, but we would pay per hour. But we figured out it would be about the same cost for that person to do that. So the recommendation from the office is to move that to a formal employment position as a part-time employee for the village.
And Gina, the benefit to the village of this is that we have someone that's kind of indebted to do this work.
There was, Ryan felt that they should have a laptop that was an employee laptop, and just given the nature of some of the discussions, wanted them to have an employee email so that we weren't going back and forth between personal emails and.
Oh, that makes a lot of
was
sense.
our old
That's a
tablets.
bad
That's huge.
risk. Yeah, okay.
So,
What do other communities do? Do they generally hire them?
I don't know. That's a good question. I
Do you
did
know,
not ask that.
Many places, the clerks sit on the meetings and act as that, or they'll have a separate, person for the plan commission and separate one for the board, but.
And so we're going to get coverage for all of our meetings from the same person.
That is the goal, yes.
That's wonderful.
We might do it slowly, because I think Suzanne will be the last to roll off. We need to.
We're losing Susanna?
No. We need to cover the ones that are open now, and then our hope is to get, so it'd be the same person every month
For committee meetings,
for
not
committee
not the board
meetings.
meetings.
Yeah, for committee meetings. And then they would also be helping with the agendas, the meeting minutes afterwards, the organization piece that is overwhelming right now, so it's a good thing.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. That takes us to item 8, Plan Commission. Any updates?
Did not meet.
Did not meet. Item 9, Personnel and Finance Committee recommendations, letter A, claims approval requested.
Brian, can I move to recommend the board to approve the October 2024 non-recurring claims of $272,607.58?
Need a second?
I'll second.
All right.
Anything out of the ordinary?
Any discussion or anything out of the ordinary sounds good too.
Nothing out of the ordinary. We did have our annual bond payment, which made up a large portion of that, $170,000. We also finished a few of our capital projects that we had budgeted for last year. including some security upgrades here and the purchase of the new Public Works building by the shops, and that was $64,900. We also talked to that, we had about $22,000 that we paid for the storm cleanup, for the last storm cleanup. The total amount is going to be slightly higher than that, but our hope is that we'll be receiving most of that, if not all of that, back from the state as soon as we're done filing the paperwork.
Any other discussion? Spending? Mary?
Yes.
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 Passed. Item B, review of proposed 2025 annual budget, discussion only. Gina?
So this is a discussion only because we will ask you to approve it in a future meeting in November. So watch for that. At the highest level, from a resident's perspective, the mill rate, which is really what we use to determine the taxes per household, is not changing from 2024 to 2025. So it's still at that 2.84. And for what it's worth, we did do some analysis to see what our neighbors are paying, and we are amongst the lowest, not only in St. Croix County, but Pierce County and Polk County. And we, in fact, have, there are some municipalities that are 2 or 3 times higher than our mill rate. So again, the mill rate is it's basically the amount of tax payable per dollar of the assessed value of the entire village. And so we hear people say, oh, my assessment went up on my house. Does that mean my taxes are going to go up? And the answer is no, the entire community has to go up, and then it's times that mill rate. So we are amongst the lowest of everybody, so keeping that low, I think, is good for everybody. So within that, the couple of things that I'll point out as we look through the 2025 budget, the property tax then levy, so is really just the new construction, the net new construction. So a very small increase, 25,000 for net new construction. And then the biggest item in expenditures that did go up, and we were preparing for this, was the health insurance increase that we faced, as well as then the wages for the employees. And then the other item that you'll see that kind of throws the 2 years off is last year we took out a brand new loan of $655,000 and did a lot of capital work for that. Obviously this year we did not take out a loan, so when you look at items like the capital outlay and just the overall fund balances, the difference between 2024 and 2025 is mostly that loan amount. The actual spend and the revenue are very similar. So when you see that the percentages of change, the minus 21, it's accounting for that loan that we took out last year.
Any questions?
All of this information is on our website, so if you'd like to head there, you can see all of these numbers she went over.
Do we mention November?
So when's the date of that next meeting?
Yes, so it'll be right here in the Village Hall on November 25th at 5 p.m.
Okay, that's the public hearing regarding the budget. Any other questions, comments? All right. That brings us to letter C, movement of 2024 surplus funds to assigned funds for 2024 unfunded projects and 2025 capital requests. Discussion and possible approval.
So moved.
Okay, any discussion?
I'll just add that these next several motions that we're going to be looking through are all items that the Finance Committee had discussed and had made recommendations on, or had accepted recommendations that allowed for the budget to look like it does. So everything that we'll be talking about in the next motions are just to formalize those discussions that allowed us to get to that matched budget.
Was there a second?
I'll second it. I was just thinking about
Kirk
that.
did, yeah.
Well, no, I think I made the motion. He
Oh,
read it,
my-
and I
okay.
said so moved, just so I don't have to read each one of
Okay.
these.
So
And then
yes.
Dusty made the second, if that's okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on this one? Everything is in front of you that's involved in this, in the document, or the background, the current information. Any discussion? If not, its spending. John?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Passed. That brings us to D. Movement of unassigned funds in 2025 to assigned funds for 2025 capital purchases. Discussion and possible approval.
Approved to move the 2025 unassigned budget funds of 86,715 to assigned funds of 2025 capital request and spend of 25 grand due unassigned funds for the 2025 capital request.
Second.
Any discussion?
So Gina, can you just explain how this is beneficial to the budget?
Yep, sure can. So we have if we look at the first motion we just looked at was how are we going to use some of the funds that were in 2024 that were not spent. So we were going to end up with a little bit of a surplus. And so we looked at some of the things where we went over, like the Browns Beach project, and we looked at other things like some of the capital requests that came from the staff in 2025. And that first motion was all about leveraging those 2024 dollars to address those items. The second motion really then deals with the additional asks for the 2025 capital from the capital area. And the first one, when we look at the spend of the 25,000 of assigned funds, so every year we put money into assigned vehicle funds that is specific so that the PD and the Public Works can purchase new vehicles without it being this huge one-time out-of-pocket expense. And so we have enough money in the Public Works assigned fund to pull 25,000 out to buy a new vehicle for their fleet. So that's the first one, is the use of those. The biggest one that we're recommending is a movement of $77,000 of unassigned funds, and this is to cover significant a portion of the sidewalks in the village to start to repair them, because we have many sidewalks that are in desperate need of repair, and so we're asking to commit $77,000 of our unassigned funds in order to start to make those repairs across the village.
So if we hadn't moved the surplus funds to the things that we did, some of those things would have ended up in the 2025 budget, and we wouldn't have had enough revenue to cover our expenses. For this one, we're taking the unassigned funds, which is where we put that surplus normally. So we've got a big buildup in the unassigned funds, and we're actually using it again to decrease the 2025 budget. And our unassigned account is many times higher than what our accountants say is a healthy balance. So we are not harming our financial situation in any way, and we're actually making our budget work next year, which otherwise it would not have worked based on our health insurance costs and the staff raises that we want to do. The one thing that I wanted to make sure that we were clear about, and I think this is a Paul question, is the motion is recommending moving $77,000 from unassigned to cover the sidewalk repairs. And you had told us that, whatever we do with the sidewalk, we need to be consistent because that's what we'll be held to in the future. And it's our understanding, and we talked about this at finance, that doing this one-time payment to bring the sidewalks up to par doesn't require us for the village to pay 100% of sidewalk repairs into the future, that once we get up to normal, then we can start to use our ordinance that allows some of that to be assessed to the resident. Is that correct? Yep.
Any other questions or comments? All right, spending issue. Mary?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Passed. Item E, I think.
Yep.
Review of proposed employee health insurance plan starting December 1st, 2024, discussion and possible approval.
Brian, can I move to approve Health Partners 27,100% of HSA's Gold SC plan health insurance, offering a full-time employees at a 90% premium contribution.
Second.
Discussion.
You want to talk the board through this, Gina?
Yeah, so we in July had received word that our current plan that we have been on for many, many years and has been non-ACA compliant for at least 10.
Also many of those years.
would no longer be supported anymore will no longer supported anymore by any of the carriers. This caused us to have to look for a new plan. And as you can imagine, a plan that was non-ACA compliant and over by 10 years to a plan that is ACA compliant 10 years later, significant financial impact, not only to the village as an employer, but to the employees as far as premiums. And so we, I think, had 13 different options we reviewed, had several meetings with a consultant to figure out what the right plan was, had several meetings with the finance committee to figure out how we want to address this. I think we realized that insurance premium increases is a part of life, right? And we're all used to that, and we all have that. But the significance of this jump, looking back, maybe should have been addressed much earlier on when it was a smaller move versus writing out that 10 years, and now we're left with this huge gap. So the new plan that we would like to offer to employees is a similar plan to what they have today, as far as it's 100% match once you hit your deductible. The deductible for a family is significantly higher than, well, not significant, is higher than what it is today by about $7,000. So today's plan is, or $700, I apologize. Today's plan is a $3,000 100%, and we are going to be moving the employees to a $3,700 100%. And so one of the ways that the committee felt like we could offset that increase to premium to employees was to take the village's share of that premium contribution from 80% to 90%, so that the impact to employees was less and was more on the village. We will note that it had been 90% at one point, and then it went down to 80, and I think the point was made earlier, which is a very good point, and employees should know that that can change from year to year. So this isn't a 90% forever, this is a 90% at least for 2025, and will be assessed each of the years. But this is the new plan we'd like to offer to employees, is this Health Partners Gold SE plan.
And I think what we were trying to really do was to minimize the financial impact on employees so that it wouldn't seem like they were making less money just because their insurance premium went up so high. So we've really tried to keep their take-home more even than having that big dip that would have happened if the village didn't move up to 90%.
Thank you. Yeah, we're not talking, tens and 20s and hundreds. We were talking several $1,000 for an employee.
Any other comments or questions? This is spending issue too, isn't it? Mary?
Yes.
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 All right. That's passed. Item F. Review of proposed one-time HSA reimbursement contribution, discussion, and possible approval.
Brian, can I move a one-time HSA contribution for each employee that has medical insurance to the Village of North Hudson, Village of November 1st, 2024 of $2,780 to offset the loss for the HSA starting in 2025.
Second.
Jeannie, you want to explain this?
Yep, so this one is it's a little bit different than the last one, but somewhat related. When we were looking at how we're going to pay for then this increased premium from 80% to 90%, one of the things that we did look at is that the village historically was very generous in what they gave or contributed to an employee and a family HSA each year. So the village previously has given each employee $4,800 per family plan into their HSA contribution, and that, like we said, is very generous. We went and looked at data, and municipalities or public administration across the state of Wisconsin, the average was somewhere closer to $2,000 a year for a family. And so what part of how we're, if you will, making up the revenue side or the premium side is we're going to drop the HSA dollars. We did do a survey of the employees, and we asked them what was more important to them, and we gave them several factors as far as if we had to have a change, where would they like to see it? And it was very clear that keeping the premium low was the highest priority, and HSA dollars were great, but not as important as my take-home paycheck. And so this decrease to the 2,020 per year per family plan from the 4,800 will help us to balance that budget. That being said, this came on really fast and is a bit of a shock to many employees who have been for years receiving this $4,800. So what we are proposing is that we give a one-time HSA reimbursement contribution to each employee that is, has the plan as of today, well, next week, yep, of the difference between what they were used to getting and what they will be getting starting in 2025, so that they can invest those dollars for 2025, and then knowing that come 2026, they have to come up with other solutions. So it's kind of a way to bridge that gap again to minimize the financial impact for that first year.
And am I correct that in order to make the village budget work, we're taking this out of unassigned funds because because we couldn't afford it in the budget to make that shift to the premium fully, to really, again, not have the employee suffer such a huge income change.
Correct.
So this is coming out of unassigned, which again is still
Very
keeping us in
healthy.
a okay place, and since it's one-time spending, it meets the requirements for the unassigned deduction.
All set.
Any other questions?
I just want to state too, also, for me, this is it's so much because of you guys that this action's so much easier. Hearing how much you guys work and how much extra you do makes it a lot easier for us to kind of help with these. So this is actually your actions that are speaking loud enough that we feel like we're going to help you. So thanks for working.
Any other comments? If not, it is a spending issue also. John?
Yes.
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 Item G, review of proposed increased pay for board meetings and committee meetings for trustees, discussion and possible approval. Need a motion?
I move to increase the board pay meetings from $75 per meeting to $90 per meeting, and committee meetings from 50 to 65 meeting, starting in 2025.
Second.
And I will say, I'm the one who came up with this based off some analysis that I did when we were looking at the financials. All in all, I reached out to all of my peers across the county and asked what all of their various roles were making. And then I said, bonus question if you tell me what your board and committee members are making, so that we could get a feel for where North Hudson sat. When I looked at that across the 12 that responded with the board information, we were sitting, when you added it all up, because everybody does it a little bit different, some have a higher, just a one-time and a lower meeting, some have the lower starting for a president and then more per meeting. But when I added it all up and calculated it out, the board here for meetings was relatively low compared to the other neighboring communities. And so we looked at that, along with the fact that it's been, we couldn't decide the exact number
Over
of
10
years, but
years.
several years, 10+ years since there was an adjustment. So that's where this proposal came from.
Any discussion?
Just board members don't spend it right away. It doesn't kick in until your next term.
Yeah, so anyone elected right now technically will not, you have to win your election to get part of this. So none of us technically voted for that.
So I'm going to say, again, I would like to see the president stipend go up and the board and committee meetings not go up as much, so that we could increase the president's stipend and not have any change to the overall budget impact of this item. For example, instead of going from 75 to 90, go 75 to 80, and instead of going 50 to 65, go 50 to 55, or 50 to 60, whatever, and take that balance to apply to the stipend for the annual stipend for the president.
Any other
Math that fast. but-
Any other discussion? This was passed by the Finance Committee. Any other discussion?
So Stan gets a fee at our president gets gets a yearly fee. This would move ours down, and then Stan would get the rest of the money, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm proposing, yep. Less of an increase for the meetings and more of an increase for the stipend for the president. Keep it budget neutral.
Any other discussion? Again, a spending issue. I'm not sure which way I went last.
We went first last time.
Huh?
Was there a motion?
Yeah.
Well, there is a motion, this is the motion.
Well, you're trying to change it.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that we modify that. So how do I do that, Paul?
Wait, no, there's a
Okay.
motion and a
Okay, so we
second
vote on it.
on the table. Spending issue. John?
So I'm saying yes to the current motion as it's written.
Yes.
If you wanted to skip that, it would have to come from me making a motion to take it down, and then the second person would, if we wanted to skip this vote, which I'm not doing so. Am I right? Following the process?
Yep.
Perfect.
So right now you have a motion, you should vote it up or down, and then you can make a second motion with different numbers, if you'd like to do it that way.
Sure, yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Motion passed as read. All right. Item number H. Review of proposed increase in equivalent runoff units, what we call ERU, fees in 2025, discussion and possible approval. Need a motion.
Move to approve the ERU fees in 2025 from $9 a quarter to $36 a year to $15 a quarter, $60 a year.
I will second.
All right. Any questions or comments about the ERUs?
Gina, can you just run through this again?
Sure can. So part of why I have the quarter year is in 2023, they were issued on a quarterly basis. They came out as a part of your utility bill from the city of Hudson. So it used to be a quarterly bill. We're proposing we take it from a quarterly to a yearly. So I wanted to show the dollar impact both at the quarter, which is what they're used to seeing, and then at a yearly, which is what would be proposed. And so we had a lot of changes that came through in 2024 as it related to the utility bills. One of the things I think we all had discussed in a letter went out last year about this time was that when the city made us aware that they were increasing the sewer fees for the residents, the village made a decision to remove several fees that had been previously collected for many years to help offset that increase to residents. And so two of these fees were related to sewer directly. One was a meter charge and one was considered or called a surcharge on the back of the bill. Again, these fees are used to and are collected in order to help maintain the sewer in this case and the water and stormwater funds. The third fee that was removed at the time of the bill was intended and was discussed that it would be put back on, but it would be put back on the tax roll, and that's what makes it a yearly moving forward. Part of that was, again, the city was not going to be doing our billing for us, so if this was a bill or a fee that we wanted to continue to collect, we would have to bill for it. We don't have a billing mechanism in place, so the tax roll is where we as a group had decided that it would make the most sense. So this fee again was not charged then through the city for 2024. It'll be on your 2025 tax roll that will then be paid out of or for 2024. What we're proposing is that we increase that, we increase that ERU fee from that 9 or 36 to 15 a quarter or 60 a year. The reason for that is that those additional dollars or revenue would be used to help cover wages, operating expenses, vehicle maintenance, street sweeping, catch basin repairs, the debt service, which is the loan that we took out to get the street sweeper. Those fees would be needed in order to cover all of those things. So we raised it enough to make sure that that revenue covered all of the expenses associated with the storm sewer, not more, not less, but what was needed. And in order to do that, we need to go from 36 to 60 for residents.
So residents will see this on their 2025 tax statement.
Yes.
And it's really not a new fee, it's a change in how they're receiving the fee, but the fee has gone up, or will go up
Correct.
if we pass this.
Correct, yep.
And it wasn't to my understanding, we're still like low.
A year ago, our treasurer asked us, we asked the treasurer, are we bringing enough money in to cover everything that's coming out? And he said, no. So we went from $5 to $9, and he said he would track it all year long, which he did. And having tracked it all year long, he came back to us this year and said, this is what you need to actually cover what's going out of that budget item. And it was just something we had never done. I mean, that raise from 5 to 9, it was 8, 9 years before, or longer than that, before anybody had ever looked at it.
This is really just responsible management of the village.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Spending issue. Mary?
Yes.
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 Passed. Item I. Review of proposed removal of third-party snow contracts, discussion, and possible approval. In Finance Committee, we had a discussion about how to make the motion properly, and Mary, I would ask that you help us with that.
Sure. So I would move that we accept the recommendation for the Public Works Director that snow removal will be done internally by the village Public Works staff.
Second.
Okay, the reason it's on here is this would be our first year, as far as I know, of never having a backup snowplow contract. Last year, I think it was 7, 8, and last year we didn't need them at all. And so that was a low snow year, but we've had plenty of years, and I think we've all been here long enough to know that there are years where we can get creamed. But as you note in the notes that are there, we have better equipment. I mean, those times we got creamed, we were using pickup trucks and really old international snowplow with a salt thing on the back that would throw it everywhere. And we have upgraded our equipment. We've upgraded our staff. We have better trained staff. The equipment that we have, our Public Works Director is saying he believes they should be able to do it. Plus, we have the one extra, what do we call him?
Seasonal on-call.
Seasonal on-call staff. So I felt like it needed to come to the board because somebody gets sick, somebody's on vacation, we get hit with, these things have happened to us, where we literally got bombed once and we had one person to plow, and we needed the contract person. If we don't have a contract person, the thought is maybe we can get another municipality to help us because we have these intergovernmental agreement things going on. I'm not sure that anybody's close enough that they would, we don't know how that would work. It would be a first-time attempt to do it that way. We know that all snow plowing companies have these contracts so they can be assured they're gonna get some money. So to go out to somebody in the middle of a big snowstorm and say, hey, we're gonna need your help, we would be last on their list to help. So I felt like the board, because when we got creamed in the past and weren't able to keep up, the messages flowed to the board and to you. And I just felt the board ought to be aware that Matt thinks he can do this, and I just wanted your okay with him taking that responsibility on. Any questions?
So there's a risk that we have decided, or our Public Works Director has decided that the risk is small enough compared to the mitigation that we've got with additional people and additional equipment, that the risk is worth taking. And you're asking the board to say, yes, we think that we can handle this. We accept that there's some amount of risk, but that we think that we can handle it. And quite honestly, we don't have this in our budget. We didn't build it into the 2025 budget, so we better be able to handle it.
We'd have to find 8,000 from somewhere else, that's correct, if we don't do it.
Well, and 8,000 was the minimum.
Right.
Yeah, and if we go past the spending of 8,000,
Well,
And that's on a chart, by the way. They chart out what they're charging us, how they're charging us, for what equipment they're charging us for, and you can burn through that 8,000 pretty quick.
Well, in the years that I was on Public Works, we did not spend it, and it was essentially like, we had to pay it, but we hadn't spent it. So it's not, there is a risk. There's no question that there's a risk. But is it reasonable for the potential savings that the village has and the investments that we've made?
Sometimes our public works believed that they could, in the past that she's referring to, believed that they could plow the whole village and wanted to show that they could plow the whole village and keep it clean. And frankly, there was OT involved. So they were motivated to do it as well. I don't know. I trust Matt.
And we'll find out together.
And
We'll
if
find
you
out
are
together.
all okay with it, we'll trust Matt and say, go for it.
So we need to take a vote?
I just,
Spending, isn't it?
Well, hold on, that's part of
Not
it.
spending.
That's why
That's
we-
part of it, yeah.
Not gonna have a contract this year.
Yeah,
On
and,
spending.
and she was making the point in finance that, well, if we're not having a contract, why are we voting on not having a contract? And she's right. But I just felt like the board, because ultimately, we're responsible for the residents as a board, and I just wanted to make sure you were all on board with it.
I just have a question. When you first brought this up, Brian, you talked about like something like last year, we had 8 contracts.
No, one contract
We
for
just have-
8K.
$8,000.
Okay, and that was with a specific backup
Yeah,
vendor?
contractor, yeah.
Okay, and you pay them that $8,000 just so that they're there when you call them, right?
Bare minimum, he gets
Bare
$8,000. So towards the end of
Yeah.
the year, they feel more obligated to, if you have a unique storms or winter, towards the end of the year, they try to use them more because it's a dance where when do you call them in, when don't you call them in?
Well, if
Yeah.
we know we're still sitting on the $8,000, we haven't used them, we would watch for those April snows and send that contractor out instead of our guys, give them a break. We would not have that possibility.
Yeah, so, because what this proposal would be, like, no contract.
No contract.
We'd just live with our guys.
Exactly.
And they've been doing the village,
This contractor?
no, our Public Works Department has been doing the village for how long?
Oh, well,
6 years total? 3 before, 3 after?
yeah, about, it's whenever I got on the chair
He
position.
had a while and left
The
and came
first year I
back.
was on the chair, we were paying a lot of money.
No, are you asking how many years
Experience.
Matt has seen it?
No, yeah, I've lived in North Hudson for, 18 years, most of it on Partridge Lane. I saw the pickup truck days. I don't ever remember getting creamed. I mean, I always felt like outside for when they'd sometimes plow my grass up, outside of something like that, I felt like the snow removal went very well. But I thought, and maybe it was the new equipment the village purchased, but several years ago, I noticed it's like, whoa, I figured that you were outsourcing it because there were much bigger trucks.
No, we got better equipment, we got better
And so it was
staff.
still all of our guys.
And before Matt, the previous director was trying to prove with even then some better equipment that we could do it, and he mostly did. The only time we got stuck was when we had one time where an employee had a planned vacation, he was in Florida, and somebody got sick and we were down to one employee, and we didn't have this additional employee that she's talking about for backup. So I think he's in the best position he can be in with the equipment we have. The
How many
skill,
drivers do we have that we can have?
well, that would be 4.
4.
total.
3 that have the CDL, which is only required for the plow.
One vehicle.
Yeah.
The Big Mac with the slide, side thing.
Yeah.
But,
And then we have 4 that can drive.
yeah. So, we got 3 that could run the Big Mac, and then we've now got 2 loaders. And those loaders do a great job. So,
Okay.
we're all okay with this?
Thank you.
Do I need a,
You can make a motion for a policy decision for this year not to employ third-party contractors, that's fine.
Mary?
There is a motion
Is
to,
there?
to accept the recommendation of the Public Work Director, that all the plowing will be done
seconded, too.
internally.
And it's been seconded.
Yep.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that brings us to Public Works. Chair-
Brian.
Chair update. So I just wanted to say, I know Stan would have if he was here, that we got Halloween coming up. Chief, any recommendations for the people out there?
Dress in bright colors.
Slow down.
Dress in bright colors, and those of you driving, please keep your eyes open, drive safely. On the Public Works meeting, we did meet. Fifth Street, Matt reported Fifth Street is done. We have assessments coming. How close are we on those?
I've seen a payment come through, but it hasn't been officially approved. Once that has happened, then I'm thinking of another month, we'll be presenting the final special.
So on the assessments, we should be having those by our December board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
January.
Other minor things that went on, we had to switch off of landlines on our lift stations and go to cell. And there's a little additional cost to that, but that's all being handled within budget, no big deal. And that's all I pretty much have from Public Works, except for, the municipal service agreement. Kevin, do you want to step up there and once again explain? I think we've talked about this last couple times, but,
And we did go back to the city, which was one of the,
oh, and would you update?
Sure.
'Cause I'm not sure if Kevin knows what the city said.
sure. So we did send it to the city from a utility standpoint and said, we have this opportunity to receive this money to do road work. That is a road that the underlying utilities are going to need attention, and we don't want to sign up to take on additional loans or debt to do road work on utilities you may eventually own by the time we get around to doing this, because we're talking not next year, but 26, 27,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Construction.
And the word that I received back was, get the money, never turn down money to work on the roads, and we will work together and figure out the right thing to do for the utilities when that time comes.
So when would we be, so what's pushing us now is the design work has to happen within
Started next year.
start of
Is
next
what the
year.
goal is. Yep.
And then the actual construction,
As of now, they have it scheduled for fiscal year 2027, but they work a little bit different. So that would be July of 26 into June of 27. So is what they have on the books right now that's stated in the state municipal agreement.
okay. And the current outlook that we're looking at for a village, the cost to the village is,
Based on what they have slated in the cost table on page number 2, between the participating and non-participating items, it's about a 50-50 split. So, the village would be on the hook for around 870,000, where the state would pick up about 850 of that. So overall, it's about a $1.7 million project. But again, the participating items, the way they fund those are a 80-20 split. So 80% DOT picks up, 20% municipality. But when you factor in 100% with sewer and water, that's where the numbers get closer to that 50-50.
and the sidewalk that goes on Monroe would be on the school side?
Yes,
Correct.
that's the way.
That sidewalk's 100% us in this deal, right?
Yep, because that's, according to the village's assessment policy, that's all picked up by the village.
And as far as assessments go, we are unaware of any laterals running off of Monroe into the school, so we would not probably be assessing the school. Not even sure if we can.
Yeah, when you look back at what we did back in, 2-3 years ago with the Wisconsin Street North project, the only thing that we assessed for that particular project was the sanitary sewer laterals. Didn't do anything with the curb and gutter, did not do anything with the street, just because, again, the DOT is picking up 80% of that cost.
It's a big project. Every once in a while, we've had them. This particular grant looks like a pretty good grant. The PUC, KIP, is saying we should go there. We should get this. Any questions, concerns, or questions for Kevin?
Do we have anything in writing from the city saying, go ahead and debt these utilities, or?
Just an email.
Pardon?
Just an email.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, but no like letter, but yes, I do have an email.
Right, is that good, Paul?
No, it's a
Better
great
than
question.
somebody talking on the phone.
And there's not necessarily a lot of clarity there, to me, personally. I mean, just because he's saying go ahead, we don't know how long it's gonna take for the sewer water agreement to actually get to the PSC and get approved by the PSC. Would we end up having initially to take the loan to cover our $850,000 of this project? I don't know.
We'd have to anyways.
We would have to anyways.
We'd have to take a loan. So whether we take it out for that, for the 850 or something less than that, because the city would be covering, let's say it's past the consolidation and they own those utilities, they agree to do the utility upgrade at that same time, whatever they pay for that, it would be the 850 minus that.
Well, it seems like we have to be prepared to.
Pay for it all.
Yes.
Worst case, yep. Yep.
And I talked to Gina about, the sunsetting of some of our other loans, and we were looking at the possibility of a need for levy purposes of having another loan by around 28, 29. Anyway,
Yep.
So was there something we needed to budget for this?
Nothing for this year, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if we say yes, we're gonna get some design fees from you, is that correct?
Well, you would be starting in 2025, so yes, there would be some fees that are associated with that.
That could be one-time fees.
But typically, you bill them on a monthly basis, is all it usually
And we do
works.
have money set aside for those fees for any year for whatever Kevin does. So it'd be, for 2025 would likely be this project, if
Yeah.
you decide to move forward with this.
And so the title on this is mutual aid agreement, but it's really this municipal agreement.
Municipal service agreement, I think that's how the state calls it.
It's very confusing, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Acronym they
Yeah,
use is
tons of
SMA.
acronyms. Yeah, SMA.
Okay.
Yeah, State municipal agreement.
Susanna, did we get a motion on this? Okay, so,
Is adding another month to get more questions maybe from Kip helpful or not? Or if we're,
well, all right, I asked Kevin, timing-wise, yeah, I mean, we could push it to December if you think we could get more clarity from the PUC between now and then, and I'm just not sure we're gonna get
okay,
it.
yeah, if we don't think it's gonna happen, that's fine.
I mean, any more clarification than you already gave in the
Yeah.
email.
In the email that you said you don't feel that there's much there, did I understand that right?
He believes, and told Matt, as well as the email to her, that we should be going after these grants. It's a good idea. He does not want to see us throw away
An opportunity.
that kind of money.
Which is fair.
And he's right, I mean, we shouldn't, because we're talking about old utilities under that road.
Right.
Yeah, drive down it.
Yeah.
These are things, I mean, we're gonna be paying for breaks, how much at a time as we have lines break and sewer breaks, and these are the kind of things that we proactively, as Mary has said before, should be looking at doing.
And if we pay for breaks, we don't get state funding.
Right. Any other discussion? Motions on the table?
I don't even know if we have a motion, sorry, I still don't think we have a
We
motion.
don't have a
No
motion, we need a motion, gentlemen, or ladies and gentlemen.
Motion to approve the Village of North Hudson to enter agreement with the State of Wisconsin Development of Transportation and efforts to improve Monroe Street North between Lemon Street North and Helen Street North.
Second it.
Any further discussion? Spending, Mary?
Yes.
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 How we spending? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin. Motion has been approved. Item number 11, Public Safety Committee recommendations, chair update, Mary.
Hi, so we met and the primary discussion was around the animal ordinance, and Barbara Olson had some questions, I think for you, Paul, that she was gonna pose to you, and then she was going to, so actually the minutes say I'm going to do it, but actually Barb will be doing a rewrite of the animal ordinance and coming back to the Public Safety Committee next month. So this month, next month. And we'll be continuing to work on that.
Yeah, so I responded from one email, I think,
Okay.
that if there was more questions.
If it was after our last meeting or around the time of our last meeting, I don't think there's more questions. So thank you. Okay, that's it.
All right. Item 12, Public Welfare Committee, did you meet?
I don't think so. Nothing to
No.
move forward, yeah.
Item 13, Park Board Committee recommendations, chair update.
We did meet. All we have to say is slow down during Halloween, please, or in general of North Hudson. Let's not hurt anyone.
Any updates on Browns Beach from the Park Board?
It's going to be close to finish soon. Next meeting, we'll kind of go over the rest of it, but they're almost done finishing up it. It will be done this year.
Done this year.
It should be done this year. I should switch that. It should be done this year.
Will be.
Should, yes. We're hoping it'll be done this year.
All right. That takes us to item 14. We are adjourned at 8:17 PM. Thank you.